Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about the dating advice Give Me Boundaries. So, this is something that arose from talking with a few friends who have started to get into long term relationships, like a year long, 6 months, a few weeks. And we were all having this conversation, and they're all in relationships, and I'm single. And we were talking about boundaries, and two of my friends really thought that boundaries were incredibly healthy, and the person in the newest relationship was like, no, boundaries are bad. Like, like you can't restrict or limit, what the other person wants to do or what you want to do. And so I wanted to talk about boundaries and how I personally think they're incredibly healthy. They're really good. And we're going to talk about basically what boundaries in a relationship do, what are some healthy boundaries, and that kind of stuff. So here we go. Essentially, a boundary is something in a relationship where you explicitly tell the other person, hey, like, we get along really well, but I need you to know that, like, this particular behavior, this particular thing, I'm not comfortable with, or I don't want to cross this line. Like, we can joke, we can make jokes about each other, ha ha ha, but don't talk about this. Don't talk about my dad. Don't talk about money. Don't talk about whatever, in a specific way. And those kinds of boundaries set the relationship up so that you are avoiding pressure points, and basically you are acknowledging that there is a sensitive subject, there's behavior that you won't tolerate. It's essentially just laying the groundwork and the foundation of a relationship and saying, right here is the line. Like, we do not do this. Or when we're at a party or something and I say my head hurts a little bit, it means like I want to go home, and I will go home now. Like, that's what's happening. Like, I don't care. Like, my social battery is drained. I'm tired. I'm done. I want to go home. And that can be a boundary, is like, when I say this, it means that I'm done, or I don't want to talk about it, or, we need to talk about something specifically. And essentially, boundaries are just an extension of having good communication in a relationship. And those kinds of things are really undervalued. And we look at people who have these kind of boundaries as, oh, they're so difficult. These people are so hard to date. They're difficult, they're high maintenance. But in reality, having these healthy boundaries is a really good way to extend your relationship and to potentially mean that your relationship is going to work in the long term. So there's nothing wrong with boundaries. There can be boundaries that are a little too far. Maybe they are completely unflinching. A person is completely unwilling to bend in any single way, no compromise whatsoever. That can be an issue, because essentially the boundary becomes like a red line in the sand that somebody won't cross, and that can stagnate growth. It can prevent a relationship from becoming everything that it could become. So there are a few things on both sides of the argument that have to be taken with, you have to consider. But that's life. You can't take one side of an argument and completely embody it. You're gonna miss stuff on the other side. Like, that's just a fact. Nobody is perfect, and there's always going to be other sides of the coin that relate to it. That being said, when you're dating, in the early stages of dating, maybe you have just met this person, maybe you have been dating them for 6 months, maybe it's just been a few weeks and you're getting to know this person, there's nothing wrong with setting some boundaries. And I think early on, the people that set boundaries generally do much better than the people that aren't setting boundaries and are kind of just going with the flow. And that's taken me a long time to say that, because as you guys know, I'm very much a person who likes to go with the flow. I like to just see how things naturally ebb out and flow through. However, I think it is really important to establish certain boundaries, specifically in the early stages of dating. I'm talking the first 4 months. And I think some of those boundaries, especially for me, would be, you sit down with somebody on your third or fourth date and you say, hey, so I just wanted to know, like, where exactly you see this relationship going. Are you interested in sort of a long-term commitment? Are you interested in having an open relationship? What exactly are you looking for? Because I need to know what I'm looking for, and you need to have that idea as well. And typically I will do this by telling them what I'm looking for. And then if they say, yeah, I'm looking for that too, that's awesome. But by telling somebody what you are looking for, you are giving them the boundary of like, this is my goal, you know, like I'm looking for my husband. I'm looking for, you know, a life partner. I'm looking for, you know, a fun hookup. I'm looking for a roommate, whatever it might be. And by saying that, you're not sort of kowtowing, and you're not saying, oh yeah, no, what do you want? And then you're like agreeing with whatever they say. You are out of the gate saying, this is what I'm looking for. If it's not something you're looking for, like, it's been really fun, I've really enjoyed this, but it's time to move on, and it's time for me to move on. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So that's one of the early boundaries I set. Another really important boundary, especially in today's social media world, is I am not going to constantly text you. I am not going to be in constant communication with you within the first few months of getting to know you. I have a life. That's not to say that like I don't enjoy talking to you, but I'm not going to text you good night every night. I'm not going to communicate all of these things constantly, because I have my own life, and I want to see if you fit in it naturally and organically. And I find that one of the number one reasons why I stop talking to potential partners is because I get flooded with communication, and it's not healthy communication. So I really find it's really enjoyable to just have a natural flow of communication and understand that the other person's got a busy life. You know, that person has people in their life they love, they have busy plans, they work, they do all of these things, and I am no different. And so the idea that we have to stay in constant communication, it's not something I'm interested in. And so even if we go 1 or 2 days without talking to each other, I know that I will be able to bring a conversation up that we enjoy talking about, or have a FaceTime once in a while. Those things are really important. And so I think that kind of boundary is very healthy, and it leads to like a long-term relationship. All of the relationships I've had have started with healthy communication that wasn't sort of like, I call it like sucking face. Like you're constantly talking, you are constantly like glued at the hip. A lot of relationships nowadays, from people I've seen, will go on a first date, and the first date might last like 48 hours. You know, like you both have the days off. And I've seen this happen a lot, where you go on the first date, you're really infatuated with each other, and you don't separate for like 48 hours or 24 hours, or you have like a 12-hour date, essentially, where you're just doing multiple things and you guys don't want to leave each other alone. And typically what happens is those two people become boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend and boyfriend. They become in a committed relationship very, very quickly, like within 3 months or something like that, sometimes a few weeks. And this almost always results in burnout. You learn more about this person, and you realize that you're not compatible, and that it might have been just a bit of infatuation. You wanted the attention, and those kinds of things are like, there's no boundaries, right? Like as soon as you start hanging out with this person, that's all you do. You're texting them, you're constant communication, and within 4 months, you really realize that this person is not long-term compatible. This isn't going anywhere. This situation is just, you know, you've burnt out immediately. Whereas if you take the time to get to know somebody, the good and the bad, it leads to like a long-term thing. I know it sounds weird, but it really is like building a foundation. And the more time you take in building this foundation with the person, the stronger your relationship is. The longer you get to slowly integrate each other's lives, you get to know their friends, their family, you spend time with them, you listen to different stories about them. The longer you take with that foundation building stage, I personally think the stronger the relationship is. And like I said, that isn't really a very common dating strategy. I think a lot of people my age, between say 30 and 18, I think the strategy usually is to be in constant communication, to look really good on social media, to constantly be, you know, Snapchatting and texting, and within these constant communications. And it's really like, it's a really shallow surface level kind of relationship and connection. Whereas like I'm a very like long-term person. Like I take an extremely long time to build a bond with somebody, build a connection, and to like develop that relationship. And it typically a lot of people I talk to are not interested in that. They hear that like, oh yeah, I'm interested in meeting you and like getting to know you and like we'll see where we are in 6 months. And they're looking at me like, what? No, like absolutely not. Like that's ridiculous. That's too much time. But I'm in no rush. And I think that that is a big component of this whole idea of boundaries is the desperation to be in a relationship and to have like the cute Christmas together and those kinds of things. Those are overriding the actual desire to get to know somebody on a human level and understand if this person really is compatible with your life. Because we all lead very intricate lives. I know a lot of us like to think that we live a very normal life. There's no such thing. You have a very complex life filled with different characters, like cast of people, your friends, your family, your pets, your occupation, you know, trips that you take, your schoolwork, opportunities that you get. Our lives are extremely complex and intricate. And so the idea that like you just desperately need to find somebody and you know you're not going to set these boundaries because you just need that person, you need your soulmate. I do think that that runs into a lot of problems and you need to set those boundaries and you need to take that time. So those are kind of the main concepts of why boundaries are really important in the short term, in getting to know somebody. They're obviously extremely important in the long term, like in any long-term relationship. You know, I watch my parents and my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, all of these people who've had long-term relationships, and they have boundaries. They have things that no, we don't do that because we know that one of the people in this relationship can't deal with this, doesn't like this, has set a boundary, a healthy boundary, saying, no, we do not do this. We do not drink on Sundays, whatever it is. You know, there are a million different boundaries that people set for their comfort, for their security, to feel like they can be close with the person, to trust them. And those boundaries are really important, especially in the long term. But I think, like I said, I think the short-term stuff, the boundaries in short-term dating are really important. And I think they really do come down to just communication, having that willingness to communicate with your partner, with the person you're talking to, and say, hey, I really enjoy spending time with you, but yesterday we talked about this specific thing and it just really didn't sit right with me. I'm going to be honest and say that I don't really agree with it. In the future, if we could, you know, avoid this topic, or if we could work out a way to talk about this that is constructive and it leaves us both feeling good about where we are in this situation, that would be great. And like I said, these boundaries are important. They set the foundation of your relationship, and that is absolutely key. You know, everybody always says if you don't have communication in a relationship, you do not have a relationship. And I think that is so accurate. So that's my 2 cents on boundaries and setting them up for a successful dating life. Again, some of the standard dating advice of like, don't take anything too seriously. Do live in the moment, do enjoy what's going on in the moment. You don't always have to be thinking about this grand strategy up in your head of, okay, well, if we have 2 dates this week and 1 date next week, and then we do it this way, and then we can be engaged by Christmas and we can have a spring wedding. You don't need to do that. You just need to know how the person makes you feel. When you leave an interaction, if you feel good, if you think they felt good, great, awesome. And then have that healthy communication of saying, hey, I had a really fun time. Thank you so much. I hope we can do it again soon. You don't have to be super calculated or strategic, but just be honest. Try and understand how you are feeling, how this person makes you feel, and just go from there. Really, that's the key. So thank you guys for watching. I'm very interested in your comments today about dating. I try to read a lot of them. I haven't responded to some of them, but I do read an awful lot of your comments and they help inspire videos like this. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.